walk through any modern city, right?
Yes.
And you're immediately immersed in this totally invisible infrastructure of sound.
Oh, yeah, absolutely everywhere.
Like the crosswalks beep, subway announcements echo, your phone is always chiming. Our whole societal architecture relies on this massive, unstated assumption, which is that everyone has perfect auditory processing.
Right. And it's a huge assumption.
Yeah. We've built a world that assumes everyone can just seamlessly intercept and decode this constant stream of acoustic data. But, that assumption is structurally flawed.
It really is. Honestly, it represents one of the most significant design oversights in human history.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, when an environment is constructed purely around auditory cues, anyone outside that narrow bandwidth is, well, there's essentially navigating a city where all the street signs are written in vanishing ink.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to put it. Vanishing ink.
Yeah, they're participating in a system that just wasn't engineered for them to succeed in the first place.
Which brings us to exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the underlying mechanics of how automatic speech recognition, or ASR, is fundamentally rewiring human connection.
It's such a massive shift.
It really is. So we're pulling insights directly from this really eye-opening March 2026 Mixcord article. It's titled, Why Speech-to-Text Technology is a Game Changer for Accessibility. And our mission for this deep dive is to break down how speech-to-text is evolving from, like, a handy convenience into this vital lifeline connecting millions to the digital and physical world.
Exactly. It's not just a neat software feature anymore.
Right. We're going to look under the hood to see how this technology is actually operating and why it is about to completely change the way you, the listener, interact with the digital world every single day.
And to really understand the trajectory of this tech, we have to look at the raw scale of the problem, like the infrastructural deficit it's attempting to correct.
So how big are we talking?
Huge. The current data shows 466 million people worldwide are navigating disabling hearing loss right now.
Wow. Almost 500 million people?
Yes. And the projections, they place that number at 2.5 billion by the year 2050.
2.5 billion.
Yeah, we are looking at a systemic global communication failure. It's a massive gap that you just cannot solve by tweaking the volume knob.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sheer volume of people affected exposes just how brittle our current digital infrastructure really is.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, a perfect example from the source is digital video. Even today, 90% of online video still lacks accurate captions.
This is staggering.
Right. And meanwhile, 70% of desk users rely exclusively on those captions just to consume any digital content at all.
What's fascinating here is that we have an internet pivoting heavily toward video-first consumption, right?
Yeah.
But the structural supports for that video are just completely missing.
Exactly. Imagine trying to navigate the modern internet, but 90% of the content is locked behind this thick glass wall. You can see the action happening, you can see people moving, but you have zero context for what's actually being said.
That's exactly what it is. And the underlying technical challenge here is that for, the first 2 decades of the internet, engineering teams just prioritized other things.
Like what?
Like bandwidth, video compression algorithms. They focused on that over metadata synchronization.
Ah, I see.
Building a reliable auto-captioning system requires aligning complex acoustic models with real-time visual playback. And for years, those early iterations of auto-captions failed spectacularly.
Oh, yeah. We've all seen those terrible auto captions.
Right, because they were trained on highly sanitized studio-quality audio. So when those legacy models encountered the real world, people talking over each other, heavy background noise, different accents, the algorithms essentially just collapsed.
Which effectively locks a massive demographic entirely out of the cultural conversation.
Precisely.
Like if you're trying to participate in an online educational course or you're following a fast-paced work presentation and the captions are generating completely hallucinated text because the AI can't handle a regional dialect, you are entirely excluded from that ecosystem.
And that exclusion is profound. But, it doesn't stop at the edge of a digital screen.
Right.
The failure of our digital auditory infrastructure really mirrors the failure in our physical face-to-face environments.
Yeah, the transition from the digital world to the physical world brings up a really interesting reality about how people cope right now. Because there's this persistent cultural myth, right, that lip reading is the ultimate workaround for face-to-face interactions.
Oh, right, the lip-reading myth.
Yeah, but the statistics from the Mixcord article tell a completely different story.
Hmm.
Lip reading only yields about 30 to 50% accuracy in casual settings.
Which is incredibly low.
It is. It's mathematically impossible to construct a full conversation based on those parameters. It's literally like playing a real-life game of Wheel of Fortune, but more than half the letters are permanently hidden from you.
That sounds exhausting.
It's exhausting and just prone to constant misunderstandings.
Well, the physiological mechanics of human speech actually make lip reading inherently unreliable.
Really? How so?
Well, so much of our phonetic output is generated in the throat or like behind the teeth. Think of velar consonants, right? Like the K sound or the G sound.
Oh, right. You can't see someone say K.
Exactly. The visual cues present on the lips only provide a tiny fraction of the necessary data. So the listener is forced to use complex cognitive modeling to essentially guess all that missing data based on the context of the situation.
Man, it sounds like trying to read a heavily redacted legal document.
Yes.
And the redactions keep changing based on the lighting in the room or the accent of the speaker. You're spending so much computational power in your brain just trying to decipher the raw input. You have barely any processing power left for the actual meaning of the conversation.
You just touched on a really foundational concept in psychology, actually. Cognitive load theory.
Okay, tell me about that.
When individuals have to expend massive amounts of their working memory just to identify basic phones, just the sounds, their extraneous cognitive load absolutely skyrockets.
Makes sense.
And that leaves very little intrinsic capacity to synthesize complex ideas or recall information or even just engage in a natural conversational flow. It puts people in a state of perpetual mental exhaustion.
And this is exactly where modern automatic speech recognition changes the paradigm.
Completely.
Because we aren't just talking about like a basic dictation tool anymore. We are talking about advanced machine learning systems utilizing complex acoustic modeling.
It's a huge leap forward.
Yeah. To actually understand what's happening, we have to look at how ASR isolates a voice. So if I'm ordering coffee in a crowded cafe, the AI doesn't just listen to every single noise.
No, it would be overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It uses spatial audio processing and beamforming algorithms to isolate the specific target speaker's frequency. Then it maps those sound waves into a spectrogram.
Basically turning audio into visual data.
Right. And then it runs that visual data through a neural network to identify the phonemes.
And once the acoustic model identifies those phonemes, the language model takes over. Because modern ASR doesn't just transcribe word by word in a vacuum. It uses deep learning transformers to predict the next logical word based on the semantic context of the entire sentence.
So it's anticipating what you're going to say.
Yes. So if the acoustic data is, say, masked by the hiss of an espresso machine, the predictive model actually fills in the blank mathematically.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the result is raw independence.
Absolutely.
When the technology shoulders that cognitive load, the user doesn't have to rely on an intermediary. Like if you are navigating a doctor's visit or going over sensitive financial documents at a bank, you don't need a third-party human proxy sitting in the room to translate everything.
You can engage directly with the person sitting across from you.
Yeah.
And the psychological shift that occurs when a person regains that unfiltered autonomy over their daily interactions, it's immense.
I can only imagine.
By providing a live, highly accurate visual script, ASR levels the playing field in fast-paced environments. Think about corporate meetings or dense university lectures where missing a single technical term could derail the entire learning process.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay.
Because you would logically assume this technology remains contained within the deaf and hard of hearing demographics, right?
You would think so.
But the data reveals a massive behavioral shift. Currently, 88% of users utilize subtitles for reasons entirely beyond hearing loss.
Wow. 88%.
Yes, 88%.
See, that metric completely dismantles the idea that speech-to-text is just a niche accessibility accommodation. We are really witnessing a transition into multimodal accessibility.
Multimodal. What does that look like in practice?
Well, speech-to-text supports a vast spectrum of needs that have literally zero connection to auditory function.
Okay, give me some examples.
Well, for individuals with motor impairments, STT provides a really robust, hands-free method to navigate operating systems. They can generate text without relying on traditional peripheral hardware like a keyboard or mouse.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And we also see immense benefits for cognitive processing. Auditory information is notoriously fleeting, right?
Yeah, it exists for a millisecond and then it's just gone.
Exactly. So for individuals who process text more efficiently than audio, having a live transcript anchors the information. It allows them to absorb data at their own pace, rather than struggling to hold vanishing audio in their working memory.
And I imagine it extends to temporary situational limitations for basically everyone.
Oh, definitely.
Like anyone who has ever tried to watch a complex tutorial video on a crowded, noisy subway, or on the flip side, needing to review a meeting recording in a dead silent library. You rely heavily on this text-based infrastructure.
It is the ultimate confirmation of universal design.
Universal design, right.
Right. Yeah, by building communication systems that do not rely on a single fragile mode of consumption, we create a much more robust environment overall. What starts as a feature originally engineered for a specific marginalized group inevitably becomes an essential usability baseline for the entire population.
Okay, I have to challenge this trajectory, though.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
If we are moving toward a society that increasingly relies on a visual, text-based script for face-to-face interactions, aren't we kind of flattening the human experience?
How do you mean?
Well, a text transcript doesn't capture sarcasm. It doesn't capture hesitation or the subtle pitch changes of prosody or, like, the emotional tremble in someone's voice. We are converting this rich, multidimensional acoustic signal into flat data on a screen. Don't we lose fundamental empathy in that translation?
That is a totally valid and critical concern, but you have to remember the technology is not operating as a replacement for human interaction.
Right.
It acts as scaffolding. The text doesn't eliminate the speaker's facial expressions, their microexpressions, or their body language.
Right, you can still see them.
Exactly. Instead of straining your brain to guess the words, you can read the baseline text while simultaneously observing all those physical nuances of the speaker. It actually expands the bandwidth for empathy.
Oh, because you aren't trapped in a state of high cognitive load trying to decipher the foams.
Yes, exactly.
So it's about freeing up mental resources to actually be present in the conversation rather than just acting as a human decoder ring.
Spot on.
And if we look at how this scaffolding operates in the real world, the Mixcord analysis points to a specific tool called ChatPad, which I think is a great example. It's designed exclusively for two-way in-person interactions.
ChatPad is a fascinating case study. It really forces us to examine the specific technical requirements for conversational ASR, which is very different from passive video transcription.
Right. And the interface itself is heavily optimized for accessibility. It uses high contrast typography, super clean formatting. But the underlying architecture focuses entirely on achieving zero latency live transcription.
And this raises an important question. Why is zero latency so critical?
Yeah, why does it matter if it's delayed by a second?
Well, it speaks directly to the mechanics of human connection. Human conversation relies on a highly specific rhythm. When there is computational latency, even a half-second delay between when a word is spoken and when it's understood, that rhythm fractures.
Gets awkward fast.
Right. The interaction begins to feel stilted, almost transactional. Zero latency ensures the visual text matches the exact cadence of the spoken word, which preserves the organic flow of the exchange.
But achieving that zero latency requires a massive shift in how the AI actually processes the data, right?
A huge shift.
Because older dictation software relied on batch processing. It would essentially wait for you to finish an entire sentence so it could analyze the context before rendering the text on screen.
Which causes massive lag.
Exactly. But modern systems use streaming architectures, like lightweight transformers. They output text word by word with high initial confidence, and then they retroactively correct themselves in milliseconds if the context suddenly changes.
And this brings us to a feature that is deeply intertwined with that latency, but often overlooked in the broader discussion.
Which is?
Localized privacy. ChatPad utilizes on-device, non-cloud transcription.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a monumental shift.
It really is.
Because historically, processing these heavy AI language models required massive server farms. Your phone would record the audio, beam those data packets to a cloud server hundreds of miles away. The server would compute the text and then beam it all the way back down to your screen.
Right, and that cloud-based architecture introduces two major vulnerabilities. First, the latency caused by network connection speeds, and second, severe data insecurity.
Right, because the audio is leaving the room.
Yes. If you are discussing your medical history in a clinic or going over proprietary corporate data in a boardroom, transmitting that raw audio to a third-party cloud server is just an unacceptable risk.
It's basically the equivalent of hiring a private human translator, but instead of sitting in the room with you, the translator is in another country, and you have to broadcast your private medical details over a walkie-talkie for them to translate and broadcast back.
Exactly. It defeats the entire purpose of secure communication.
Yeah. But by keeping the processing entirely local, the data literally never leaves the room.
And the reason this is even possible today is due to the evolution of neural processing units, or NPUs, inside our mobile devices.
Oh, the dedicated AI chips.
Right. Modern smartphones are now equipped with this dedicated silicon that is optimized specifically for the complex tensor math required by machine learning algorithms. We can now execute these massive acoustic and language models locally, in real time, without instantly draining the device's battery.
It's like a perfect synthesis of speed, computational power, and absolute privacy.
It really is the holy grail for this tech.
So, bringing it all together,
Mm-hmm.
what does this all mean for the broader landscape of communication? It seems the evolution of speech-to-text technology is actively dismantling the assumption that auditory processing is the only valid way to navigate society.
Unquestionably.
By leveraging these advanced acoustic models, the zero-latency streaming architectures, and localized NPU processing, ASR is providing a highly accurate, universally accessible visual script for the whole world around us.
It proves that accessible infrastructure is not just some optional overlay or afterthought. The definitive future of human communication relies on a multimodal approach, voice integrated seamlessly with text.
And for you listening, whether you are relying on captions to decipher a chaotic Zoom meeting, or utilizing hands-free dictation during a long commute, or simply reading a video in a noisy cafe, this technology is actively operating in the background right now to reduce your cognitive load and streamline your daily interactions.
It really acts as an invisible safety net, ensuring clarity and focus regardless of whatever environment you're in.
But there is one final technical capability mentioned in the Mixcord research that points to where this infrastructure is heading next.
Ah, yes. The global application.
Exactly. These same on-device AI models that provide zero-latency transcription for the deaf and hard-of-hearing community are now expanding to support live multilingual translation.
Right.
They are addressing auditory barriers and linguistic barriers simultaneously.
Because the underlying neural architecture required for both of those tasks is remarkably similar.
Which leaves us with a really profound question about the future of society.
Mm.
If we have already engineered systems capable of providing zero-latency, secure, on-device transcription that perfectly preserves conversational rhythm, what happens when that exact same technology instantly translates every spoken language on Earth into your native text right in front of your eyes?
It's mind-blowing to think about.
Are we rapidly approaching a threshold where the very concept of a language barrier is completely eliminated from the human experience?
The implications for global collaboration there are staggering. I mean, the technology that removes the glass wall for hearing is the exact same technology that could remove the glass wall for all global communication.
It fundamentally changes how we view the limitations of human connection. Thank you for diving into the mechanics of this with us today.
It is always a privilege to map out these technological shifts with you.
Keep exploring, keep questioning the infrastructure around you, and we will see you on the next deep dive.